In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your Maya in a way that will make it a little bit easier to work with. We're going to go through not only setting up the interface, but how to work with Maya files and how to successfully submit stuff for your projects for this course and other classes in SGD. When you first open up Maya, you're usually going to be confronted with this screen. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the project that we're going to work in. Now, I want to define a few terms so that you understand what a project is versus what the different files are. So Maya is usually meant to work with larger long-term projects such as an entire game or maybe an animation. So a project would refer to something like that, where you might have multiple Maya files in that project. We're going to treat the project as if it was the entire semester class so that we can make sure that we're saving our files somewhere easy to find each time we work with them. So it's usually in this set to this default project. I usually don't like to work in that default project because it can be kind of hard to find the files when you need to because it's usually buried in some weird folder. So instead, we're going to make a project for this class. So I'm going to click on the folder icon to set project, and I'm going to make a new folder somewhere where it's easy for me to find on this computer. Since this is my own computer, I'm going to go ahead and just put it on my C drive so that I can easily locate this. I'm going to just go to where I want to make this project folder. I'm going to right click and create a new folder that I'm going to call SGD 114 and select this folder. Keep in mind, if you work on different computers, such as your home computer versus a lab computer at campus, you're going to have to go through this step to make your project folder, or at least to locate your project folder. It's not going to know where it is when you're on a different computer. So I'm going to set this as my directory, and it's going to say that it doesn't have project definition, and we're going to say create default workspace. So now we can see the current project is set to SGD 114. Each time I work on a 114 project, 114 file, I'm going to make sure that the current project is set to this. This doesn't mean that we're going to be putting all of our assignments in one single file. It's just this is the location of where all those files are going to be. In fact, if we move to where that folder is in our file explorer, we can see it did put like a workplace.mel file, which is just its little thing telling it that this is where the project is. And anything we save would end up in here. The nice thing then is if we were to move computers or you want to back it up, we can then just zip this entire compress to zip folder, and it would take all of the scene files that we end up making over the semester with us. So that's kind of an easy way to make sure that you have all of your files and you know that you're moving them all and you don't forget anything. So once we have our project set, we're going to make a new scene. Now each week, unless specified, you should be working in a new scene file. This is like the individual file that is going to hold all of your 3D assets for the week. Generally, for the projects and lectures, you'll be explicitly told what to name it, or you might be provided with one to start in. So make sure that if you are provided with one to start in, it does go in that project folder that you just created, so you can easily find it. If you are working in a new one, the first thing you do want to do is go to File and do a Save Scene As, and we're going to save it into that folder. I do recommend working with the Maya ASCII file rather than the Maya binary file, and we're going to give it a name. Again, you'll most likely be told what to name your files or already provided with a file to work in. So I'm just going to call this one demo file or demo example or something like that, since this isn't really something I really need to keep. And I'm going to make sure it is in my project folder and click Save As. So you can see that mine is set up slightly different. I'm going to show you how to get to this setup so that you have a little bit more viewport space, because I do like to work with the viewport space as big as possible. But this is also a good way to show how you can fix your layout if it does get messed up. Like if you lose one of these tabs or something else disappears, you can always go to Windows, Workspaces, and do a reset general to factory default. And you'll end up with it back to how it was. Now, unless I'm doing specifically animation tasks, I do like to kind of trim down what I see here so that I have a little bit more space in my viewport. So I'm going to click on some of these and take them off and close them because we don't need them right now. I'm going to click on the dots on the left, to click and left mouse click, hold and drag to pull off the time slider, and I'm going to close that. I'm also going to close this one right here because we don't need it. So I'm going to click here, left mouse click, hold and drag to turn off the range slider. But I do want to leave this last one here because it does give me information on if we have an error or if something happens, it will appear down here and tell me what that is. So I do like to kind of leave this one in. But you know, we can always resize this a little bit, like if you want to make this a little bit smaller. But generally, you're probably going to want to keep your outliner up because that's very handy, and you are going to want to keep these sidebars. Once you get a little bit more comfortable, we can actually close this top one up here. I tend to work with this one closed as well, again, just to kind of help give me a little bit more viewport space. The other thing that we can do to kind of help our workflow and kind of arrange this a little bit nicer is to give ourselves a custom toolbar. Now, if you're new at 3D modeling, this might be one of the first videos that you are watching. This might not seem super helpful at the moment, but as you progress in the class or other classes, I do recommend that you start to consider making your own custom toolbar. In general, you're going to spend a lot of time underneath the Modeling Toolkit tab over here. And it usually looks something like this, where we have some tools based off of, you know, usually what component we have selected. But, you know, these are the quick ones. And we do have these up here, and we do have all of our menus, but sometimes, you know, you don't want to hunt through where that specific tool is if you're using it a lot. So if you see this line of dots down here, if you hover over it and it turns into the arrows pointing up and down, if you left mouse click and hold and drag up, we can see we get a custom shelf. And I do like to put tools I use a lot here rather than having to go into a menu to grab them. And you can customize this as you go. Like you might be using a tool a lot on a project and you want to put it there, but in future projects you're not using it, you might want to clear it out. So it's very easy to add and remove things. Again, if you move computers, the custom shelf won't be there, so you are going to have to reset it back up. So in order to do a custom shelf, we do have to also make our own tab up here because it's almost like a half step of like you set up your own tab up here and then you can move to your custom shelf. Or maybe you're fine with just having your own tab up here and you don't use your custom shelf either way. So first I need to make my own custom tab up here. I'm going to hit the settings on the left over here and do a new shelf. And I'm going to name it, you know, whatever I want. Usually it's just going to be my name. And we have a blank one to start putting things in. The way that you get your own things up here is you locate where that tool is in your menu. Like for instance, I use, let's see here. I like to use the merge a lot. So I'm going to, and it's kind of a weird one. It's Control Shift middle mouse click on it to get that. So we then see that icon there. We can then slide it down to our custom shelf by middle mouse clicking on it here and dragging it to our custom shelf. So it's kind of a weird two-step process. So I like to use the merge. I also use the underneath mesh display. I'll use the harden edge. So I'm going to do Control Shift middle mouse click and soften edge. I use the reverse a lot to fix issues. I use underneath, I always lose them because I don't use them, I don't find them as often. Where is it? I'll find it. Oh, insert edge loop. So I'm going to get that one. And again, you don't have to use the ones that I'm suggesting. You'll find ones that you want to use as you work your way through. So I'm going to move these over here. I also like to have my edit, delete all by type history, as well as, where is it? Freeze transformations available down here. If you need to have it so that you have the menu available, like for instance, let's say I want to be able to open up the menu for, what would be a good one? Like this planar, like I want to planar map it, but I want to be able to open up the options with my button. Just do the Control Shift middle mouse click then on that menu instead, and it'll work as a shortcut to opening up that menu options. So now once I have everything I want, like I said, sometimes if I'm have it good, I can even tear this off and turn the shelf off because I have what I need down here, and it just gives me a little bit more space. So this can be super helpful as a way to easily access tools without having to dig through menus, especially if you're using them a lot. Again, you don't want to put every single tool down here, but if it's something you're finding you're constantly clicking on, this would be helpful. The last thing I do want to talk about is how to correctly submit things for assignments. A lot of times you're going to be asked to do screenshots. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first, and then we'll talk about submitting Maya files. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a create polygon cube just to have something in my viewport to show. Doesn't matter what the size is. And let's say that this is for a lecture and I need to take a screenshot. So I'm going to recommend that you use the snipping tool for this. We're going to make sure it's set to snip an image, and we're going to make sure that we are doing a rectangle because I do like to draw my own sizes. I don't like to rely on window or full screen because you might miss information that you need. So once I click new, I'm then going to make sure I drag all the way from the top to the bottom because there's two pieces of information that are super important. I need to see that it's me logged into Maya, and I need to see the date and time. If you do not have your date and time in your screenshot, it is possible that you will not get credit for the screenshot. So let's do a new. And you probably didn't see it because it does kind of freeze the screen, but I clicked and dragged, and now I have my screenshot of the entire thing. I can see, the file name, I can see I'm logged in, and I can see the date and time. I'm then going to hit copy, and then I can just paste it right into the Word document I'm working on. It does need to be a Word document. You should just be working in the Word documents provided and not making a new one. The nice thing about Wake Tech is you are provided with Microsoft Office for free. And not only is it free, but you can work on it on a web browser. In fact, let me show that to you real quick. To access the tools online, you're going to go to my.waketech.edu and you're going to log in as a student. And the nice thing about this is that we have access to a wide range of Microsoft products for free since you're a student. So we're going to click on the 9 dots in the corner and you can see that we have access to our email through this, Word. But what I'm going to suggest to you is do this through OneDrive. Don't just open up Word, because what you should be doing is creating a OneDrive folder for the semester. So we're going to go first to My Files, and I would recommend just making a new folder for the semester. So I'm going to just call this SGD 114. I'm going to put demo on this for me. You probably don't want to do that for yours. And, pick a fun color if you want and hit create. Now, every time you do a lecture, anytime you do a project, you can back up your files in here. So let me grab one of the lecture Word documents. Yours might look slightly different than this one, so if yours does look different, then don't worry about it. But we're going to go ahead and download the original file, so that we can put it then in our OneDrive. So I have it right here, and I'm going to go to my 114 folder and then just drag and drop it in. So it's going to upload it for me. I can then also, I shouldn't call it last name, first name, but when I click on it, I'll be able to rename this to the correct, And now I'll always have access to this because I can access this through OneDrive, either at home or in the lab for turning it in. So let's say I need to put that screenshot in. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit copy. Then I'm going to come over to here and I'm going to hit Control V on my keyboard to paste it in. And that's it. Double check that we can see everything that we need. Do not resize it to make them smaller. And, we can answer all the questions and we'll be good to go. Once you are done with the assignment and you want to turn it in, we're just going to go to File, create a copy, and we're going to download a copy. And you do need to make sure that it's downloaded as the docx. We don't accept other file types. So don't do it as a PDF, don't do it as any other file type. So that is how you would work with these files so that you can do the lectures. Now let's talk about the projects, because a lot of times you're going to be asked to turn in your Maya file. That is just this .ma file. So I'm going to hit save. I can see the asterisk is there, so I know I haven't saved it recently, so I'm going to hit Control S to save. And since I created that folder for me, I know exactly where it is. It's very easy to find. It's right there. This is what you're going to turn in. I don't want you to zip the entire folder for me. That's not necessary. I just need that one file unless told otherwise. One thing you could also consider doing is backing it up on your OneDrive. We can just go back to that OneDrive folder that I made, and we can just drag this in and drop it in. Now, you might be tempted to set an auto backup for your OneDrive. And I know sometimes that's sort of set up already on your computers, but I do not recommend that you do this. I, in fact, turn off all OneDrive auto syncs off on all my devices because it is a little bit unnecessary and it can create problems when you're doing game development. The way the auto back works is it's constantly, using the internet to update files when you might not be ready for that to be updated. You also might not know if the file has been updated correctly because it might be in the middle of uploading it to your OneDrive and you might turn your computer off and then your file will not get updated. So I don't recommend you having auto sync turned on to your folders. Instead, you need to manually check to make sure that it is uploaded by doing it yourself. And there we go. So we have this backed up. We can take it to campus with us, and we could submit it if we want to. And that's about it. Hopefully you found this useful, and definitely as the semester goes on, maybe refer back to it, especially for this custom shelf.